Welcome to my channel and welcome to another part of my coloring book collection review. Today it will be all about fantasy designs. I will show you my Jade Summer books, my Selina Fenech designs, but I decided to start from the most beautiful coloring book about mermaids, the most beautiful in my collection. It was a very pleasant discover. Book was created under the brand of Color Mood Books. Under this design they also have beautiful book about fairies and about flowers, and the most pleasant discovery was the artist who created these pictures. The lady is from Ukraine and it was really great. For now I finished only a couple of pictures here. Both of them I did during this May here. Paper is traditional for Amazon books, but surprisingly I didn't have problems coloring them even with my budget pencils. So here I can clearly see that I used some of the Star Joy pencils. Also I used Derwent drawings. You can't use water-based media here, but if you have enough patience to do the background with pencils, with professional and budget pencils, it's possible to color here. Why I love it? It's because pictures are very detailed and we have beautiful mermaids, but also a lot of interesting creatures, and I love those additions like shipwreckages and some chests with treasure. Also a lot of underwater sea life elements. Look here. My second finished picture it's somewhere here, yeah. For the wall of the underwater castle I used alcohol-based markers first and then added more intense shadows and color accents with colored pencils, and the rest I think that I colored with Arteza. Or I mixed brands, but as I said, surprisingly, even if paper isn't very thick, it was possible to color with pencils. And look at the beauty of these designs. I definitely will be doing more of them. This mermaid definitely, but I hope that maybe I will select something from this book earlier. I don't think that such a beautiful book deserves to be colored only each May, just 1 month in the year. And next I have my Selina Fenech books. Well, in Victorian romance I colored one page, not much, but I think that my biggest stop to color in this book was that I wasn't very familiar with the story. So you know that I love to color realistically, and I know that it's a story about 2 male characters and 2 female characters, so I would love to know more about them to be able to show this in the pictures. But then I downloaded a short description of her series from Selina Fenech's site, where she told a little bit about this book created by herself and main characters, so maybe now it will be easier for me to color. Here I mostly enjoyed doing the highlights from one source of the light, this lantern, on the fabric of her dress, on her hair, on the skin of both her arms and hands, on fabric of his coat. So it was quite fun to do this part. Not so fun to cover the rest of the page, you know, paper in Selina's book, so never very enjoyable to work big areas with pencils. But if you love to color beautiful dresses, beautiful faces, this book definitely can be for you. And next we have one of my most popular and most frequently used books, and we have Fairy Tales by Selina. I think that here I need to somehow indicate for myself how many I have already done and how many I still need to do in order to finish this book. So let's start from Beauty and the Beast. Again, I really enjoyed doing all the highlights from the candles on her dress, on the window, outside the window, and I am glad that because of the intense blue color of the coat, the beast isn't lost and he is nicely visible. And I enjoy doing this golden rose. I think that my main reason why I love to color this book, apart from loving coloring illustrations, is because I love faces of Selina's girls, and I also love composition of her pictures. Here for me they are absolutely perfect. So as usual I'm on about paper, but I color it quite frequently. Here I think that I used Prismacolors, and I do love her tail here, that part of it is more transparent. I try to show that we have time after the storm, so that's why I did such dark clouds. Quite lovely. The next one I don't like too much. Maybe green colors are too bright comparing to the color of the water. Maybe yellow flowers distract attention from the Thumbelina. Anything, it's definitely not my favorite picture here, and after I almost ruined it. It's not ruined, it's just not as was as easy for me to color it comparing to other pictures. Usually in this book I enjoy every moment, color choices are easy, but here I really struggled. So I had to put away this book for a couple of months, but fortunately the next page which I did, I think is that it was in October, I really enjoyed. I decided to save my more precious pencils, so the huge pencil background was made with Starjoy and Sucolor, and if you have blender and enough patience, it's totally possible to color here. Of course, most of all, I am proud of the wolf. In the beginning, when I got the book, I was afraid, and I was sure that this will be probably my last page to do because of the fur of the wolf, but I think that now he looks quite nice. Not too many details, because I want to maintain this style of children illustrations, but at the same time you can clearly see a lighter and darker area on his fur, and the red coat of the Red Riding Hood, it's definitely the focal point of this page. Next one also is quite good. Here I practiced again all those reflections of the light from the fireplace on the stones behind the girls, so they have light halo around them, and even on the fur of the bear. The next one I promised to do each winter, and each winter I'm a little bit afraid because it's beautiful. I really love her face. It's wicked, it's beautiful, so I think that I need to think about it and finally gather my courage to do it if I want to finish this book one day. On this page I mixed polychromos and Prismacolors. Prismacolors worked quite well for the pastel colors of the sky behind on the background, and polychromos has helped me to create her dress and hair. It was a little bit creepy to color this beheaded horse, but well, it's a story. I definitely want to do this one. It's from a Russian fairy tale, and I already know which colors I want to use, so maybe it will be my next project here. The next finished picture is this one with the Scheherazade, and here for the first time I used my Derwent color softs and Derwent drawings on this paper, and surprisingly it's quite possible to use them, at least for the background. Again, if you need to save your Prismacolors like I have to do. And the only thing I am not sure here, maybe I had to mask better black lines on the folds on the fabric here. Maybe it would look more delicate, more transparent, like made from delicate silk if I would mask them. So maybe I will return to it and I will do it. Anyway, I do love this contrast between turquoise green here and all the golden and red colors which we have behind her. Well, it wasn't my favorite project because it was a little bit boring to color all the layers. I decided to use a little bit unusual color palette for the bedclothes here, for many layers of them, but at least I hope that the P is still visible, and she looks so unhappy, so pissed off. Well, I almost mess up with the shading on her face because it's tiny, so I discovered for myself that maybe on this paper and with such small faces you don't have to do very complicated shading, just a little bit on cheeks, a little bit on the neck, and it would be better than creating dirty shading on this paper. The next one I do love. From the very beginning I wanted to do this green dress which would communicate with the outer frame with roses. I think that it was my first design here, so it was nice beginning of the story. This page I did probably a couple of years ago and I still love it, especially the sky, how I did sky with northern lights. It was already indicated by Selina, so I had to work with the line art which was available here. And in the end I think that even the white bear I managed to do in quite nice way. The next one I won't show you because it will be soon as Kolorowanka on my channel here. But we will be looking at Goldilocks. You can see that I try to put my girls here in dresses of various colors, but with so many girls I totally run out of new color combos, so sometimes I have to repeat myself. But I think that here her blue dress definitely looks nice together with the rich wine red bedding inside of the Three Bears house. Again here I used a little bit of Prismacolors here on the green area behind the window, and the rest was made with polychromos. Polychromos behave a little bit better on this paper comparing to Prismas, at least for me. This one I have done with Arteza and even with Neocolor crayons and acrylic on the sky to create those clouds, smoke, probably smoke, yeah. And the only thing I don't like is his face. That's where I discovered that when I start to shade, to add darker shadows, everything looks dirty. So his head, it's terrible. The next one I did next December, and again, mostly I enjoyed doing beautiful dresses. Well, even when I was a child, to color such medieval style dresses was my favorite thing to do, and now I still enjoy doing it. Also, one of my first works here, first I tried to use, I don't remember, maybe polychromoses. I wanted to add those mysterious eyes in the dark of the evil forest, but then it didn't work very well, so I concentrated more on the gingerbread house, which I did with Prismacolors. And here I have beautiful cat. I think that fur looks quite nice, and probably I don't remember what did I used for the, probably for polychromoses, because picture it doesn't have waxy shining like we usually have with Arteza or Prismacolors, so probably slightly harder pencils. And another one which I really love is the Jack and the Beanstalk. Mostly I love it because of the background. I got this idea to do a lighter background in the center behind the Jack and then going to more intense colors. And I think that color combo of orange and olive green, it looks really nice. I definitely plan to finish this one sooner or later. Well, Australian animals I demonstrated you quite recently in my video about coloring fur, so let's move quickly here, but maybe if you missed this video, you can watch this one. I still hadn't colored a lot of more complicated, fluffy, furry animals, but I finished all birds and insects here. So I have koala, I have echidna. Here I combined various pencils, various media. I even tried alcohol-based markers, but still for me slightly harder pencils like polychromos, artisan, and for some areas uh, even black widow. They are most frequently used pencils here, and I was really happy to discover interesting facts about all those birds. Before I started to color, I never actually thought that such a beauty can exist in real life. Indeed, these birds, they have black feathers with a lot of pearl dots on them. Very festive looking bird, and this variety, it indeed has pink feathers, especially on the body and on the longer feathers. So it was very nice discovery to be able to learn something new about animals and about plants in Australia. So I am very grateful to Selina. My recent work, very simple. This one I really enjoy to do all those various types of feathers, smaller, bigger, wider, longer. Very nice study by the side of Selina, how she did her. I really want to do this one. This one is simplified and I'm not very happy with the water. Maybe I will try to improve it later. Something went wrong with the water here, definitely. Oh, here I struggled a lot with this dark blue background. Maybe I had to use acrylic paint, but I discovered it by after I covered it with blue pencil. I tried to blend it, I tried to cover it by harder, lighter pencils. Well, it was a struggle, but at least these night creatures, now they have nice, beautiful night background. This one I do love because I think that fur here is quite good on the back, on the tail, and flowers, they also quite festive. It was my first page here, so I did this guana, and that's where I started to try to learn more about all the animals and plants in this book. Here I struggled again with the background, which I did with light colors of acrylic paints. It wasn't perfect and I struggled a little bit on the flowers. I think that I tried to use star joys here. So a lot of work I put into this book, but I still enjoy each page here. Well, another book to finish. Well, mermaids you were able to see quite recently, just one page, which I did in November. Very fresh. This one. And now we are moving to Jade Summer. Sorry for the noise. Well, I have complicated feelings toward Jade Summer. I always was a little bit suspicious about their brand because they create a lot of books under the trade name and they never tell the real name of the artist. I know that they probably purchased the rights for the pictures from various artists because they create huge variety and in various styles, so it's not possible to create such different pictures by just one person, but I prefer to know the name of the real artist. And this story with the copyrights that they recently were deleted from Amazon, it's also a little bit disturbing. Also, they banned me from the Facebook group, so I have not very happy story with them. Anyway, 3 books which I own, I would say that here art style is perfect and I love it. That's why I really want to know who created them, not just the name who purchased and published them. Of course, I am far from being happy with the paper. You know that I constantly mourn about this black paper, I don't know why it's needed. I managed to ruin one book. This one when first I used watercolor or acrylic, and then as usual I decided to iron it, and the black from this side. Okay, let's start from the bad things. So I tried to iron this page, and the black, it under my iron, it was put into the next pictures. So I managed to ruin even my colored pictures. That's where I appreciated that I have the second set of pages, but still, at that moment I was crazy at them. The other not very good thing with this uh, black on the back side, it's when I color with alcohol-based markers. I start to apply marker, you know that it start to bleed through and paper became like transparent, and the first couple of moments you can see only black. Then when paper starts to dry, you can see the real color of your alcohol based markers, but for the first 1 minute you can see the real color which you use for the page, so it's a little bit disturbing. Sorry for the rant. It's simply difficult when you love the line art and you want to color all pictures here, but each time you have to struggle with the quality and you don't know why they do such thing to make their books even worse. If it would be printed simply on the white paper, it wouldn't be so disastrous. Anyway, in this book I managed to do two designs, even if it's far from Art Nouveau, but it still has some very nice fantasy designs. So I did one in Egypt style. If you're interested, all Kolorowanka videos from Jade Summer books, they are on my YouTube channel. You can watch how I struggled with different pencil brands with this paper. And the second, which I did using alcohol-based markers and pencils, it's this Devil Girl. I do love both of them, but I'm still not sure how to return coloring in this book. I know that you can print them by yourself to purchase them as PDF, but I'm not a huge fan of separate pages. I much more prefer to have books, and I do love covers of the books. They usually are quite beautiful. So that's my constant struggle. This one is quite rare now. I imagine that again they have some copyright problems because it totally disappeared. You even can't purchase this one as PDF. So I am glad that I have it because it has quite nice selection of Norse mythology gods and goddesses. I really appreciate that we have many male characters, of course Northern gods. And faces, they are also quite nice. So for now I did Frey. It was really messed up because part of this black paint was imprinted on the sky, so I had to mask it. I can't say that I managed to do it quite well, but what can I say? This one was quite nice to do, and that's where I decided to experiment on the background, and I discovered that it's totally impossible to use water-based media. Maybe only acrylic it's possible to use them, and I used acrylic paints here on the wings. And I have the third finished project here, this one. At least this one wasn't damaged. I think that of course I will continue to color here, but for now I will stick to pencils, maybe alcohol-based markers, and only then on top of it a little bit of acrylic to mask black lines. And finally my third book, but which has actually 4 books in one, and I think that it's a great idea. I prefer to have such books comparing to the 2 sets of pictures. And let's have a look here. In the fairy part of the book I have this one which I finished recently, last month. And here we have a release from the ice capture. I already told a story which I invented about this very rare bird which was captured inside the ice cave, but now her friends, these fairies, they try to help her to escape. This one I called the Spring Fairy, and we can see that behind her we still have winter, but where she is stepping we already have green grass and flowers. That was my idea behind this page, and I am glad that I managed to show it on this picture. I used a lot of acrylic paint here to create this wintry background and falling snow behind her, and quite bright colors on her dress. The face of the moose or reindeer is a little bit strange, but other animals are not bad. And the last in this part is totally in fantasy style. Again, first I used pencils and then I worked with some bright acrylic paint to add more highlights to the grass around the skull. I think that I enjoy coloring here because I don't have to limit myself with realistic color palettes, and when you don't care much about these pictures, it's easy for you to work more freely and to experiment with media. And the next pictures which I have, probably just one of them, so not many finished projects here. It's this dragon. I selected this one, and this book it has a lot of beautiful dragons, but I selected this one because it's in Asian styles, and the building here, the monastery, probably it's more in Japanese or Chinese style. So I decided that it will be quite matching to color the dragon, also using red colors which we can quite often see on Asian dragons. The background I did with Prisma colors. You can see all those clay rose, peach, deco peach, lavender colors. A lot of grey, so I think that it was quite a successful coloring. At least I do love the final look. I struggled a little bit with all those scales, but in the end when I added a little bit of golden accents, I think the dragon looks quite nice. And finally, let me show you books where I have just one or two finished pictures. So, Briar. For me, it's one of the gemstones in my colored book collection. It's relatively rare now, and I haven't seen many finished pictures, just from several colorists. And of course, I would say that it's definitely on my top list of favorite books, but surprisingly I did only one page here. Paper here it's good both for watercolors and pencils, so here when I did this Christmas wreath, I combined watercolors first and then worked on the details with polychromasis. The fairy is made with pencils and the wreath with watercolor and a little bit of pencils for details. I think that it was a good start and I was quite eager to do other pictures, but on my next project, which I absolutely loved, I managed to almost mess up the background. There were some lines which probably represented clouds, but I didn't like them, and I tried to use gouache paint here. At that moment I didn't have nice selection of gouache colors, so I tried to mix something with white, grey and blue myself, and unfortunately final color looked dirty and also not very good coverage from my part, so you can see some brush strokes, and I realized that I can ruin the whole page. Maybe it would be better to stop to think how to save this background, and until I hadn't messed up with the main image, maybe it's time to think better and to start from the beginning with better experience and with improved skills. Well, I hope to do this December at least smaller page, this one, because for me it's winter picture, but we will see how it will go. And another books which I also can put onto the top part of my favorite coloring books list. It's by Herb Leonhardt. Of course, I love these books not because of their quality. They would be real gems if they would be printed one-sided and on better paper. But even in such quality, they are perfect because of the line art. I would say that Le Chant Nouveau is definitely one of the most beautiful coloring books which ever existed, at least for me. Well, in Fantasy Nouveau, I have two finished pictures. Somehow I am not as afraid to color in this book as in the second one. So I did this mermaid, and again I think that even there weren't color softs, it was possible to use here. I experimented a lot with several pencil brands. If you need it, it's somewhere on Herb Leonhardt playlist on my YouTube channel, so you can watch what I used and how I colored it. I love her, and it was interesting to do her golden tail. First I was a little bit how to say, it was difficult to understand where exactly we have parts of the seaweeds and the dragon's body, but then I looked properly here and I decided how to color it and where will be the frame, where will be the dragon. The next one I did with a mix of Sucolor pencils and Polychromos pencils. It's not bad, probably I had to work more on the fur, but horses I already mentioned, they are difficult for me to color, so instead I concentrated much more on her horn, and now we have this beautiful unicorn. In Le Chant Nouveau I want to color everything, but I colored just one page. I don't know what to do because I really want to do this spread. I show you in my plans very often, but somehow I never have time to start it, and it's not frightening. I know which colors I want to use, just not the right moment for them. Anyway, here I again experimented with all my pencils, and apart from Mitsubishi Uno, which glided too much on this paper, it was possible to use almost everything. Of course, if it would be printed on one-sided, on thicker paper and one-sided, it would be great to use watercolors for the background and then to work on the details. But what can I say? At least I am grateful that Herb Leonhardt created and published this book, and that's definitely the story where I can say that the beauty of the designs is more important comparing to the quality of the paper. Well, thank you for watching another part. I hope that this time I wasn't as long as boring as in previous part, so please join me in the next series.